think it's very important that we have a discussion about Manchester United right now because it was funny at first. I'm not going to lie.
Funny.
Like, I take great pleasure from watching your team fumble. But if it's like every now and then, But this consistently bad thing you guys have going on is like consistently bad performances. Like, it's not even funny anymore. What is going on at that club?
Question we want to ask and discuss. Who is to blame for this downfall? Do we look at the players and say, listen, they're not stepping it up on the field. You're not seeing any hunger from them.
Yeah.
They're not fighting for the badge. It seems like they don't want to be there. When we go goal down, it's like
their heads drop immediately.
There's no will to fight back.
I think the thing is you cannot blame, there's no one person to blame. I think it's all these little things that have been allowed to like grow and fester and become this, I don't know, I just get this great ball of negative energy from Manchester United. There's no motivation. None of them are confident at all. If we're looking at the players, none of them.
There's no chemistry
at all. It's like none of them want to be there. And it goes
toxic.
Also, that's it. Toxic. I also feel like even with Ten Hag, like every time it's like a post-match interview, he's not really saying anything if you actually think about it. He's like, oh, we weren't that bad, or we played well in the beginning, or you can't do this, you can't blame this. You're saying
against
nothing.
Newcastle that you could see the players, they tried. I'm sorry.
What game were you watching?
They tried.
This is what I'm saying. Is he
At
even
no
watching?
point in that game did I feel like United were in control. At no point in that game did I feel like United were able to fight back. We were completely out of that game on our own home ground. Old Trafford, which was once a fortress, a place that people feared to go to, now is a playground for the opposition. It is embarrassing.
And back-to-back 3-0 losses at home. That's just embarrassing.
And yes, it's Man City, treble-winning team. Okay, we lost 3-0. But against Newcastle, the Newcastle team we faced was not even their first team. We weren't even playing against the best of Newcastle. Yet we still went down 3 goals. So I think it's a combination of everybody.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, and I know a lot of people say this is just excuses, but I really truly believe that it starts at the top.
Yes.
A well-run institution filters down to everybody and will then have everybody playing and fighting for their team. So if you have owners that actually care for the club, I mean, they didn't even put out a statement about the loss of Sir Bobby Charlton.
They weren't even there for any of the memorials.
It just shows they do not care. They have no interest in anything around the club but the money that it provides their pockets. I think it starts at the top. You got to get rid of the Glazers.
And then it filters down.
And you know what? The problem is it's only going to get worse. And the only way forward, I feel, is we have to get new ownership and we have to go through the ugly phase of rebuilding.
Yes, but
we have to rebuild this entire club.
Until then, because who knows when the hell that's going to happen. This has been going on for how long? So many people have dropped out of the race to buy Manchester United because look at how complicated it is. And the Glazers just don't want to sell.
They're not going to sell.
And they're not going to. So you can't then wait for that to be fixed. You have to try right at the bottom. It starts with the players. It starts with the manager. It starts with the tactics. There
are no tactics.
That's what I was going to say. Like, if you look at the lineup that Ten Hag put out against Manchester City, he was like, oh, it's all tactics. Yeah, but what tactics? Like what? What did you get out of that? You got nothing out of that. I think it's really difficult to come into the Premier League as a manager who, if you weren't from another Premier League team, it's also very difficult. The same as it would be like difficult for players to come in to a Premier League team.
Of course, and adapt. But where my argument to that is, Ten Hag came in last season. We all felt like he transformed the club. He transformed the mentality of the players. Not initially, yes. And yes, there were big issues. The Ronaldo issue, which we'll talk about. But we managed to end the season with the trophy. We finished third. We got Champions League qualification. We were in the final of the FA Cup. Yes, we lost to Man City. But it was a successful season. A lot better than what any of us expected.
Yes.
And now going into this new season, we felt like we can only go up from here. And all we've done is go backwards.
But can I just say as well, transfer window. They're like, okay, you obviously let Ten Hag bring in who he needs to bring in, You guys got players that you assumed, we've had this conversation, would fix your spine because that was the problem in your team, right? It was all the way down. You needed a target man. You needed a goalkeeper, apparently. You needed a goalkeeper. You needed people in the midfield, right?
Got Mount, got Amrabat.
Here you were rebuilding the spine of the team, and I don't feel like it's made your team any better, bar Højlund, okay? Because
although, how many Premier League games has he played and he hasn't got to contribute to a goal?
Yes, so that's what I was going to say, but
you have to put your hands up there and say, like, why is that happening? Why is our front line not scoring? We've got 1 goal, 1 assist between our entire attack, which is Tom Rashford.
Your top goal scorer is who?
McTominay in the Premier League.
Harry Maguire has more goals than some of your forwards.
Yeah. So
just think about that.
I don't know. There are a lot of issues.
I get what you're saying about Højlund, and I completely agree. But I also feel like if you look at him, he's only really like one of the very few players that are like fighting. Like when you watch him in the Champions League games, that kid is going for it.
Carried.
You can see he's like, you know what? We got to fight for this. He seemed like more of a leader with regards to trying to motivate others, or at least have the motivation himself to keep going, fight for the ball, than Bruno, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the game against Man City.
I'm
His
very
head
disappointed in
was down
Bruno's recent performances, not just on the field, but
as a captain.
As a captain.
Yes.
I don't particularly think stripping him of the captaincy is going to solve anything, but he himself needs to do some self-reflection and look at himself and say, listen, I need to step up because I am the leader and others need to follow me.
Yes.
In terms of fighting.
You're following a guy that as soon as his head goes down, he's like, okay, good luck.
The only player I saw with some hunger was Hannibal against Newcastle. Yes, he's reckless and a bit immature in terms of his discipline, but he shows hunger and fight,
there,
and he doesn't give up. So we need that from everybody. Like, we were losing 3-0, trying to come back, and Newcastle was showing far more hunger to win that ball back than United were at any point in the game.
Man United were like, you know what, we just want to get through this game so we can go home, do our own thing. There's no sense of a team there at all.
So how do you fix this? Do you sack the manager? Now that's the narrative. Ten Hag out. That's what we're seeing everywhere. To me, we've lost 8 games out of 15 this season.
That's really not good.
But last season, yes, we had an incredible season. Do we just sack him? But if we do, now we've got our squad, which was built up of his players.
That's what I was going to say. He came in and he was like, I'm going to try and rebuild using some players that I have had personal success with. You brought them from other leagues as well, can I just point out? Because,
so they're inexperienced in the Premier League.
Yes, because Onana, yes, he was great at Inter. Everyone's like, oh, you know, Champions League performances, fantastic. Came to Man United. And yes, these past few games, sure, he's had a better performance. But that doesn't excuse all the other times before that in which he, a lot of the time, was a reason that you guys lost.
You can say that about pretty much all the players that he's brought in. But now, I personally think if we sack him, then we're starting from scratch. And then we're going to go to an incredibly dark place.
Then it's kind of like Chelsea, what Chelsea were doing, where they're like constantly getting rid of managers. And, you know, not giving anyone time to build anything up. But Ten Hag also has to take responsibility. Yeah.
So he also has to give more. He did say last night that he takes responsibility for the performance. He's like, I take responsibility, players should take responsibility, and it's not good enough, needs to be better. But
so
your words don't mean anything until we see a difference.
Yes.
Like, if we lost 3-0 and we could see Man United were fighting, giving everything, they had chances, maybe they were unfortunate, it's just not their day. You know what, it's fine. It's like, okay, we lost. It is what it is. Like, you guys were knocked out by Newcastle.
Yeah.
But you weren't outplayed, and it wasn't like you didn't care about that game. You guys still played and you had chances. It just wasn't your day.
There have been some games where you guys you can see, okay, listen, Man United are on it. They're just not clinical.
Very few though. Very few.
I was going to say, like, that was more to the beginning of the season. I honestly feel like the longer the season has gone on, and can I just remind you, it hasn't been going on that long.
No, 15
but it has been getting significantly worse. And the morale is getting significantly worse around all your players.
Yeah. And the fan base.
Can you blame them as well?
No, you can't.
Of course, Man United fans have the right to be frustrated by this, because
this is not Man United.
This is what I was going to say. Yes, rivalry aside, all that stuff aside, Man United used to be a team that got a lot of respect, even from rivals. You could be like, you know what, say what you want to say.
Yeah, we might hate them, but we respect
them. And you respect the grounds at Old Trafford, you respect what they stood for, you respect the history of it, all that kind of stuff. There is none of that now.
They're a joke.
Absolutely.
We are a banter
You guys
club.
are the banter club. Last season, it was Chelsea. Now it's you guys.
Now, this makes me question, was Ronaldo right in his interview with Piers Morgan? I mean, he spoke about how the club hasn't moved forward since he was last there, and you have to move with the times. I don't believe some of the things he was saying was actually crazy. So much blame was put on him at the time.
Yeah.
He was the problem. He was the scapegoat. Let's put it all on Ronaldo. But clearly, I mean, we're seeing what he's doing since he left Man United. He's been playing more football than ever before for Al Nassr, and with Portugal, he's succeeding at all levels.
And there's no Ronaldo in the Man United squad right now, so who are you going to blame? Who are you going to turn to and be like, this is your fault?
So
he also mentioned something about, like, a lot of the players, like,
the
mindset. There's no desire, there's no hunger.
Yeah.
How can you play a team sport if none of you are on the same page? First of all, you can't have one guy fighting to get a result. Be like, you know what? Like Højlund, how many goals has he scored in the Champions League, and yet you guys are still on your way out?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't have one person fighting for these things and everyone else is like, yeah, we're just chilling. Like, it's really sad to watch. Like, I can sit and make fun of you guys. I mean, you've given me a lot of material to work with. But at the end of the day, it's actually not funny to watch one of the biggest clubs to ever exist to watch their downfall.
We've become a mid-table team.
Yeah.
We're playing unattractive football. We're embarrassing ourselves week in, week out. I don't know what the solution is. You guys can let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. Let's discuss this. I feel like we could go on and on and on talking about this, but I don't know.
And if you guys haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. We've got more content coming.